if I ran up on a Klan member like tomorrow and said that you're a liberal, they'd be confused. They'd be like, "What the hell?"
Their head to explode like Dave Chappelle in his skit when he played Clayton Bigsby.
Yes. I mean, they have to realize that the Democrats were Southern conservatives. Keyword being conservative, right?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Abolitionists, they were Republicans, but they were not conservatives.
We got to get educated on that. Because look, I remember when I was in the Army, man, look, I'm an E3. They told me that they're going to finance a $7,000 car for me in the early 80s, late 80s.
Yeah.
I ain't had no money like that. What you think I'm going to do at 22 years old?
So, I mean, you know, and that's so true, man. Like that's just us. We have to kind of like take each other by the side and kind of school each other because, you know, a lot of times we see it on Facebook. Oh, why didn't they teach me this in school? Why didn't I learn about this in school? Well, hell, a lot of that was your parents. They should have taught you that.
Right.
Or your brother, your sister, or you got to seek it yourself. You know, I was in the 5th grade when I read the autobiography of Frederick Douglass. You know what I'm saying? So we have to be curious upon ourselves. Go ahead.
I said the parents didn't even know. That's the thing.
But whose fault? I mean, but at what point do we say, you know what? I want to find out more about Booker T. Washington. I want to find out more about W.B. Du Bois.
You're right.
I want to find out more about Marcus Garvey.
You're right.
You can't depend on an education system that was set up to fail us, to educate us.
But on the flip side of that though, Mike, they still should have taught it because I know one thing.
Why?
Out of high school.
Why? Reggie, they weren't even trying to let us read.
Right.
Why should we depend on them to you know what? I know schools were segregated, but you should have still should have told me about such and such and blah blah blah. But hell, you didn't.
Yeah, Mike.
100 years ago, you'd be shot down or hell, not shot down, lynched for trying to read.
But listen, Mike, if you ain't in charge of the Board of Education and what to teach, that's them because especially a small town, if they didn't teach it, because I know one thing, I don't need nothing but English and math. I ain't need no chemistry. I don't need no history, none of that. That ain't gonna make me nowhere.
Since we talk about education, I want to bring the lone educator in. What do you think about this, Courtney?
Should have taught that.
Man, I just think a lot of stuff back then and leading to now, Black people, a lot of times, I know for myself personally, it's a lot of stuff that I've learned, like you said, by reading on my own. Right?
Yep.
They didn't teach us. I was just having this conversation with my wife. Like they didn't teach us about Marcus Garvey and Malcolm X. All it was Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King, maybe Frederick Douglass. You know, those type of individuals. But in today's education, man, it's still the same. Like you still gonna have poor Black schools. Black schools that are in poor neighborhoods are not going to get the same resources that a white school on the east side of town going to get. So nothing has changed, even though the Board of Education, you know, Brown Board of Education, all that stuff happened, man. The education system is still segregated. Because, for example, the school I teach at here in Louisville, it's a church school, man, but we're diehard in the middle. We're in the West End, which is like, of course, the Black part of town in Louisville, and a lot of stuff happens. But man, right up the street or a couple blocks away is a white school, like a Catholic school. Bro, they got everything they need, bro. They got everything they need. And so I think for me as an educator, I try to teach my kids a whole lot of stuff different from what I was taught in school. But I can do that because the majority of my kids are Black. All my kids are Black students. So I try to get them stuff that they wouldn't get if they were in a public school or maybe an all-white school setting. You know, I kind of give it to them real, like, you know what I mean? You can't depend on nobody to tell you nothing. You got to get your face in a book and you got to read. That's the key, man. We just got to get our youth somehow to understand It's nothing wrong with the NBA and NFL and all of that, but everybody not going to be that, bro.
That's right.
You could be an entrepreneur. You can, like Reggie was saying, you can own a barbershop and stuff like that, and that's great. But you could be a CEO of a bank, a CEO of a hospital. You know, it's much more than what they regulated us to. And granted, we've come a long way because we weren't really supposed to be anything, but we've come a long way. But we can still improve on the things that we've done to better ourselves, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
John, I want you to chime in on this.
Wow, man, that's kind of hard. I agree with everything that was just said. You know, it's you know, man. I just, you know, we have to, as Black people, I think we haven't been given the opportunity since coming to America, or since others coming to America. However you want to look at it, we were here, we came here.
Right.
I just don't think we've been given the opportunity to drive the damn ship yet. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, the ship that brought us here, we didn't have any control over it. And since coming here on that ship, we haven't been given the opportunity to dictate and control our future as a people.
Exactly.
I agree 100%. Yeah, we can build Black business, but we have to learn. We have to reprogram and get out of that. You know, Black people ain't gonna spend, or because I gotta jack my price up just to get ahead. But we have to. You know, why can't we start our own collective within? I mean, they do it all the time. Look at a military installation. That's a city within a city. So why can't we do the same thing? You know, it's going to take some dedication, and I guarantee you there's going to be a lot of Bill O'Neill's stuff along the way. But I mean, it's definitely possible. You know.
Yeah.
Logistics. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Take it out, Mike.
Yeah, I'm listening.
See, and fellas, this is where it all boils down. This is deep. The problem that I have is every time, no matter where we at, when we got to do something, to get a yes and a no answer, it's got to come from somebody white. I don't like that. That's my problem. So even the rappers, when they go on concerts, you can have all the concerts you want, but you don't own that arena. If they don't want it to happen, it ain't a Black person's decision. That's the problem I got. See what I'm saying? Yeah. Until we can get to where we ain't got to be worrying about. We own it. We do what we want to do. That's what I'm, just like the electric company. I got an electric bill. I used more electric one time. My bill was lesser than when I didn't do it. Who's in control of that?
Yeah.
White people. I don't like it.
Yeah.
And that's the problem that I have. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I feel what you're saying, man, but I mean, I know you love Pittsburgh, man, but you might have to move to Barbados or something like that if you trying to get away from your electric bill, you know, being controlled by white people.
I shouldn't have to move nowhere.
That's still controlled by white people.
But on the exactly, though, fellas, you know what I like? Look at us brothers on a platform right now discussing stuff. This is beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's the way it's supposed to be. We can agree and disagree and shake hands.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Hey, James, what you think about it, man? I know, like I said, you one of the more conservative guys on the panel.
I prefer moderate, but never mind. I mean, I do agree with Reggie and everything else, but back in the old days and everything else, before we couldn't even sneak in and get in those we're like speakeasy. We got to go in the back door and shit to go to the white performance. They still got to say no. I had to use profanity, so I apologize. You got demonetized, so
it's all good.
Hey, but I do agree and everything else. We do need to get our own stuff, like our own arenas and everything else, so you can put rappers and not entertainers, R&B things, so they come here first before they go to the Von Barton Civic Center.
Yeah.
But tells the two cities.
Yeah. Hey, Jay, so you grew up East Side Detroit, you know what I'm saying, pretty much ground zero. as far as black folks being lied to by politicians.
True.
What's your whole take on all this? Do you think a influx of a lot of funds would help out a place like Detroit, or is it a mindset thing?
It's a mindset thing. Mm-hmm. I think it would, yeah, because like my city, even though I'm not there, a lot of people I know, including myself, have started a business since the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say some of that money, the stimulus money, has helped people to do a business and better themselves. Yeah. So it's just the mindset. I will say, yeah, you use that extra money to get ahead. Yeah, if you use that extra money to get ahead, of course, yeah, I commend you. Even like you said, I agree with Reggie Fresh when he said, hey, somebody buy a new car, that's an asset. Hey, that's what you use your stimulus money for. Hey, it's getting you back and forth to work or back and forth to your business. And now you door dashing. You used to ride the bike to door dash. Now you got a car because of the stimulus.
Right. Yeah. I think what Reggie was kind of getting at is folks who already got a car, but they trying to put the LS swap in it. They trying to put some 24-inch rims.
Yeah,
stimulus money. I understand, True. Reggie.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand.
People still putting rims on cars, man.
Hey, man, I just put some rims on my car like 2 weeks ago, man. They ain't chrome.
I'm just saying, like I haven't seen.
Warren said he a BMW guy.
They're not chrome though. They're not chrome. So I ain't stunting like that.
It's all good, bro.
And like I was explaining to one of my friends, he's a white guy, and I was telling him how you go back to slavery, right? A lot of white people think that, oh, well, my grandparents, my great grandparents, they weren't involved in slavery or discrimination and all that good stuff, right? But I tell them like, hey, wherever there was a plantation that plantation was the main economic drive for that community.
Yeah.
With that free money, plantation owners were able to bankroll banks, right? These banks were able to give people's great grandparents monies and loans to buy the tools to not be the sharecropper that we were.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So yeah, you might have not. So you might have not been a slave owner, or it might not be in your lineage, but you have benefited from it.
Exactly.
Because because you guys didn't have to fight your way out of legalized discrimination. And then if you think about it, we've only been free for what, 50 years.
50 years.
You know what I'm saying? Hell, I was born in 82. Butler High School was still segregated in 1974. Brown versus Board of Education was what, 1954, wasn't it?
Correct.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times, and I hate to go on a tangent, but I have to speak, to conservatives who always bring up the fact that, well, it was the Democrats who started the Klan. I'm like, if I ran up on a Klan member like tomorrow and said that you're a liberal, they'd be confused. They'd be like, what the hell?
They'll head to explode like Dave Chappelle in his skit when he played Clayton Bigsby.
Yes. I mean, they have to realize that the Democrats were Southern conservatives. Key word being conservative, right?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Abolitionists, they were Republicans, but they were not conservatives.
Listen.
Yep.
Listen, man. It's not that hard to understand what you just said, right? About the how when you say white privilege to a person, they think sometimes it's I didn't own slaves. No, but you just laid it out. The foundation that slave labor benefited your family for generations, and in 2021, that wealth has accumulated.
It's compounded.
It's not that hard to understand.
Yeah. And it's not like one of those things we're trying to put people on a guilt trip. It's just to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you started on third base, then you started on third base. Right. You know what I'm saying? Just know that there's some people who didn't start on third base.
Not at all.
And if you started on third base, don't brag when you make it home.
Exactly.
That's
help somebody else get home.
I pulled myself from my bootstraps.
Yes.
What if you didn't? What if you never had any boots?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So, it's one of those things, and of course, amongst black men, there's always some division in that too. You know, a lot of us don't believe that conservatism did us dirty. You see what I'm saying? They'll James, I see you kind of like doing your eyes. But I mean, you know, granted that we all study Malcolm X, and Malcolm X, he wailed on liberals, right?
Yeah.
Northern liberals, because he was in Harlem and he was seeing what was happening, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, people who are not that versed in black studies, they'll point to Malcolm X to say, oh, look, he didn't like the white liberal, right? But on the flip side, they'll be like, well, you know, systemic racism is not a thing.
Right.
Oh, so it's only a thing if it's white liberals doing it.
Exactly. Right.
John, I want to bring you in.
Man, I agree. I agree. And it all boils, in my opinion, and I hate to say it, not to sound like, you know, a communist or anybody. I'll go ahead and put it out there. You know, my Uncle Sam afforded me the opportunity to see different parts of the world. Yeah. And having experienced those different parts of the world, I wouldn't want to live anywhere else than America.
Yes.
Than America.
Yes.
You know, and I mean, but in that same breath, this current situation that we are in as a nation, I mean, if you ask me, when they elected Biden, that's just a Band-Aid on a problem that hasn't been addressed. And until it's addressed, it's going to continue to be the same thing. Yeah, they can give reparations back on that again. But I mean, is that truly enough healing? Is that gonna soothe the pain? You know, I mean, for some it will. It'll be a good Band-Aid, you know, a little ointment or whatever. It'll ease the burn from it, but it'll still be there. And until this current system can't continue to function, because you will always have those who don't see the problem in what their forefathers did.
And not only that, right? So whenever you go on like these message boards or even on Facebook, right, you'll see people engaging in the same kind of tactics that they did in the 50s. Whenever a black person is talking about equality, fairness, they link that and they make it like communism is the contributing factor for it. Yes. You know, you look at Marcus Garvey. They wanted him, why? Because he was preaching for equality, and that was one of Hoover's first main targets, right? Got rid of him, got him out of here, right? But everybody else, you look at Malcolm X, you look at Martin Luther, you know, a lot of times people love to quote Martin Luther King, right? But I'm like, the same rhetoric that you're using against, say, a Barack Obama or any black person or white person that's speaking about equality, you will call them a socialist, right? Mm-hmm. Before King died, he was the most hated man in America. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So these same people who are shouting, "Oh man, you need to stand for the flag. You need to stop kneeling," right? And these are the same ones who are saying, "Oh, the Democrats started the Klan." They fail to realize that they be on that same side, shouting at those kids in Arkansas, trying to integrate that school.
Yeah.
Right.